Do.
Yeah.
Do.
I said, John, have you got a topic? No, I don't have a topic. Then a couple seconds later, I've updated my Obsidian. John, you do have a topic. What are we talking about today?
Me updating my Obsidian.
Right. So, John, how have you updated your Obsidian? I don't know this because I just pushed the record button.
So, basically, I no longer have daily notes because they weren't working. And I got bored. And so I've kind of adapted what you have, which is where you have that capture pad with a completer button, which just adds notes to the capture pad. But I also have added a to-do recurring only section. So with you, you have Morgan to do all your recurring stuff, whereas I don't use Google Calendar for that. So I have inside of my dashboard portal, which has all of my projects, longer project, client projects.
You can share screen.
Oh yes! Look at
that! Don't call me out on it last week and then moan and then don't do it this week. Yeah, you're a hypocrite.
Oh yeah, I know I'm a hypocrite.
Oh
yeah, there's loads. There's loads. Okay, so we've got this top part here, which is like quick stuff. Okay, for audio listeners, come over to the YouTube channel because it's just easier for you to read.
You'll be able to view it.
You'll be able to see it.
But you can listen to it anyway. We'll explain what's going on.
Yeah. So up in the top here, we have this like orange section, which is basically a quick start. So if I'm not sure what to do, which is often the case for me when I'm running around doing 100 different things at once for the family and everything else, I need a place to be able to just go and where I'm told what to do. But I also need it in a way that is super easy for me to access and add new things. So I have kind of 3 notes in here. I have the top one is the to-do recurring only, which is a zoomed in version of my dashboard portal, which is on the right. And that just shows what recurring tasks need to be done. And it just tells me what I need to do. When I need to do it, a ticket, it disappears.
Question.
Yes.
Why do you show the everyday recurring on Sunday and then the dates? Why do you show them? It's a pain for me. I don't like it.
It's there. I haven't changed it. So there we go.
Okay. Yeah, just as a FYI, you can hide it. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah, in the query, you type hide. You type hide and then whatever you want to hide it. Yeah. Because it's using the task plugin.
Yeah, I am using the task plugin. I don't hide it because then when I tick it, I forget whether I've actually done it. So it because once you tick this, I don't see the done tasks. I just see the next task. So it's also kind of useful to have that. So I'm using the task plugin, which means it hides the done tasks because otherwise it looks an absolute mess. And that stresses me out seeing lots and lots and lots of things in there. So that's what I do with that one. Below I have a capture pad, which is literally I just throw stuff in there, and you can see I was demoing it for a client the other day. And it's quite literally, I press this delicious green. I fucking love this plugin. I'm just like, yeah, I love Commander plugin. I press this button, it creates a new note using quick capture, which quickly captures whatever I want inside of here. And it happens no matter where I am in my space.
When you say quick capture, is that a quick add?
Quick add, yeah. So it's just a quick add which captures a bit of note into the top of this capture pad. So wherever I am, I can always go and play and add more things in there and all that lovely stuff that I want to do. And then when I can be asked, I clean it out. Otherwise, I just keep it there. Then on the right, then on the right hand side, I have my projects kind of portal, which shows all of the projects that I'm working on. I completely stole Danny's color changing thing because that was really cool. So, thanks. And then I have all of the projects that I'm working on, whether they're done, whether they're completed. I don't really use the due date as much as I could because whatever. I just like to know when it's coming up and what's happening. And then I have the other plugin which does the magic thing, which I can't remember what it's called now.
Metadata menu.
Metadata menu, thank you. I have the metadata menu which ticks things off if I'm done with it. I've got a few things to change because as I was setting up metadata menu, I had to change all of the things that it said so that it all matched to the full calendar plugin. So I'm still in like this transition stage, which I never really fully finished. And so
Just as like an FYI, the due dates for all the tasks and stuff, I've actually changed that slightly in my Vault because of my focus and projects of my focus on projects and on videos, as we discussed before the recording, which is secret stuff, has shifted. So I don't actually use the due date in some of my data view queries now. I use priority instead. So I have the priority showing, and then it's sorted by priority, or in the essays case in stage. So I can see you've got your groups down the bottom, so I'm not going to talk about that too much, but I have the stage of my essays showing on the data view query in my dashboard instead.
That's kind of nice. I'm still working on updating this to really fit. I just wanted this done quickly, and so I had it done quickly. And I've been playing with a few new changes that I wanted to try, and this is one of the big new changes that I want to try. Let's see if I can zoom right out. There we go. It's lovely and big. All right, so I have kind of, it's like a Kanban board, but it's Kanban board both ways because it's fun and I like it.
Yeah.
I love the this is the thing that I adore. This feels so tactile. It's like a digital version of having like a wall, like post-it notes on a wall behind me, and it is so damn nice. Like, it feels really good. So each of these is some form of project or thing that I'm working on kind of vertically. Going along, I have not started, in progress, done, and then I have like a waiting or a holding section for stuff that I do want to work on, but is not a top priority. This will probably change, but for now it's working. I'm going to be evolving this as I go, and then on the kind of horizontally going across, I have 3 other sections. One is general, which is just for all of the stuff that when I don't know where I'm going to sort it, I just need to put it here, but I know it's a high priority. I kind of use this as almost my high priority of like, if it is a priority, it is here on the projects page. If it is not, it's in here, but the priority projects are also in here. But
when he says in here, that's the data view dashboard that we just went through.
Thank you. Yes, in the dashboard portal. And so along the top, I have the general, which is just stuff that I know I'm working on behind the scenes, keeping the business moving, etc., etc. Then I have along here client, and then I have content underneath, and all this is using Meta Edit. Is it Meta Edit menu? I never remember the name of it, but it's a pretty plugin which basically makes it do really cool stuff.
Yeah. So I assume you're using the groups that I shared. Was it last week's recap? I think with the groups, and then when you move the.
Yeah, I think it was. I think you shared it there, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool. I like that." Yeah, I think it was in one of your videos, and you also showed me after the stream too.
Yes, yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
So that's it's the one where I talk about metadata and all the potential metadata changes that's coming up, and I think it's towards the end of the video where I discuss the metadata menu plugin, and that's what we're seeing here. And there's different colored groups, and the reason I really like that is. And I've played around with it a little bit in my space, but my dashboard's now expanded to quite scary stuff. If you saw the live stream, you will have seen my dashboard, and one of the other canvases that I use when researching in it. It looks an absolute mess when you don't know what's going on.
And that was so I did a VIP day with someone recently, and they were like, "So what do you use for task management?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm about to open up a can of worms for you. I use Obsidian." "Oh, right, that's like Rome." I'm like, "No, it's not like Rome. Let me show you."
Your fists up is like Rome.
Let me show you. And I said, "Look, this is going to look a mess to anyone who doesn't know what's happening, but it's not for me. So I'm just going to let you know this will be really confusing." And I guided her through. She's like, "I actually really love this." So for people who don't know, each of these kind of squares is a project of some sort. A few things that I'm planning to do is create 2 more completer things, which I haven't figured out how to do yet because there's been some bugs that I'm just like, one is to have a yes.
Completer is that are you talking about the buttons on the side, because that's commander? Or are you talking
Commander? Sorry, okay. I always get the 2 commander. Yes,
because complete is an autocorrect.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably get rid of completer because it bugs me. It keeps coming up and tries to complete words for me, but I can't press enter.
Yeah, I'm the same. That's why I don't use it. Various complements is something that might be helpful, but that's another plugin, and we'll talk about it another time.
Cool, good. So one thing that I'm working on is having a quick add to just generate new projects for me. But I did that with the podcast one, and I haven't figured out why it doesn't work. So I'm going to chat to you about that afterwards. I want to create projects which automatically put it in the project folder. And I may even, dare I say this, be moving away from like my actual, and in fact I have removed them. I might be moving away from DB folder properly because I prefer this and it's nice and it feels more dynamic. One of the things that I always found that I didn't like with Notion was how like, and I built a Notion thing for someone literally yesterday. I was just playing it. I'm like, oh, this would look so much better and Obsidian better and easier to work with, but no. Is how tactile it feels and being able to use the mouse to just add a quick capture in there. I also have something else for like if I have a new recurring task, I just press this, it adds a new recurring task using I press a little repeat button up at the top right hand corner on every page and I'm like, oh yes, I need to do that. And the same is on my phone as well. If I have stuff that I need to do for the family, I can immediately create a new task and it will appear in the to-do section because when I go into my dashboard portal down here, I have the all recurring tasks, which is an absolute mess. And that's why I use the task filter because otherwise I would sob. Especially when I accidentally click it too many times because I'm like, it's not working.
Yep, that's so true. That is so true.
So yeah, that is basically my space right now. A few things I'm going to be adding is, like I said, I want to try and make the quick add new podcast episode and then the quick add new project. But I haven't done it yet. As I was doing some VIP days, which are exhausting and amazing. So yeah, that is, the tiny small changes to my I basically have mimicked what you have, Danny, because I like the way that you set yours up. I was really like, okay, why have you got it on this hand side for a while? And then I am now put it on this hand side and I'm like, oh, that's so much better. I can search when I want to. And then I've been enjoying using the search to clean stuff up. As you can see, I've got some cleanup stuff here. Like it's been so nice to be able to clean up by having it all on the side instead of having to switch between the two. So I've enjoyed moving this over here.
It just feels like I can get to it if I want, but I don't really want to be there.
That is the exact thing. Yeah, I don't want to be there and I don't have to be there. I've also implemented the folders as well for notes because I had them for a while, as you know, but I stopped using them. But now I'm kind of moving in the direction of like I want to be able to see my projects on the side if I want to see them, and also it makes DB folder a bit easier, which may not even count anymore. I haven't quite decided yet. I'm still playing, but I absolutely love the kind of the canvassy tactile feeling of like general client content, and there's space for more, and just being able to
of course there's space for more, isn't it? It's an unlimited canvas.
It's an unlimited canvas, so I can have as many things as I want on there as I'm working on them. And it's so nice being able to just go, okay, cool, this is now done, and I can just drop it and it changes the property in there, and I'm like, oh yes. I also started playing with the full calendar plugin. As you can see, I've done loads.
There's one thing for those audio listeners.
Yeah, there's literally one thing, and it's literally a test to go and grab all of the metadata to put into the template. But I haven't done anything on that yet because all the podcast episodes that I have recorded this week were just literally brain dropped from my brain. But yeah, and so that's what I've done with my Obsidian, and I am loving it, and it feels tactile. And I don't often use it in mobile view. The only time I open it up on my mobile is when I need to quickly capture something. And then most of the time I'm on a computer of some sort, which will show me this. So if you're a mobile user, you may find this as a bit much. I haven't used, does Canvas work on the mobile?
It came out 2 days ago. It's in the recap that's coming out in like an hour for me. But
there we go.
Those listening, it came out last week because this will come out the week after. So yes, it is out now.
Yeah. So I wouldn't use this on mobile view, I don't think. I haven't needed to, and I majority of the time spend my time on a computer with my big massive screen so I can see everything that I need to, and even on my little MacBook, that both of these fit. And I just little things like this. So for people who are listening, I literally just clicked on the projects like group, which inside contains everything. I just pressed the zoom to selection, and it's just like zoomed out to see everything I want to. And the fact that I can do flipping, I mean, this is simple, I suppose, perhaps in comparison to yourself, Danny, but like, I just love how I can have this level of granularity and it doesn't break.
Yeah. But
I mean, I have broke it a few times.
But that's why it's so good though, because it is so simple. You can look at it. Anyone can look at that and go, "Oh, I know what that project is, or where that file is, or what categories it's in," because they can just look at the groups and look at the columns. Because that's what you do on a whiteboard anyway. You draw a big grid and you put stuff in wherever. You've added some colors, and this is why I think Obsidian, to me, when you understand the basic moving blocks, Obsidian is far more flexible than most of the other apps. And something I wanted to add with the DB folder point that you made is I still have them for literally one reason and one reason only, to give me a list overview. Data view can do that, but data view doesn't give me at the moment, because data core, when that comes out in a couple of months, who knows what that's going to be able to do. So maybe data core will replace database folder, don't know. But if I want to see just a list of my videos, I don't want to have to either have a data view query in a file somewhere and me go there, and then have to fiddle around with all the columns and filter where clauses, blah, blah. No, I just want DB folder to do that for me. And that's what it's for.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. When I used it for my podcast, when I was doing daily podcast episodes, I did everything inside of that, and it was still a little bit, not, I wouldn't say clunky. Clunky's not the right word for it, but it wasn't quick and effortless to do. It didn't feel really fast, which for me is really important. I just want to be able to get in there. I don't want to organize my stuff, which sounds exceptionally weird for people who don't understand, but I want to just get on with the stuff that I'm doing. I have limited time, limited energy, limited patience. And so I want to get in, get the stuff done, and get out as fast as possible. Like, I would far prefer to have conversations with other people than I would sitting around inside of Obsidian and playing all the time, although it is fun to play in Obsidian. But I don't want that to be the majority of my day. I just say that for the weekends.
Yeah. Yes. Something that I think is interesting for me is I said this on the live stream that I did 2 days ago. It was the Obsidian versus, well, not versus Logseek, but we were talking about it, and obviously the comparisons were made. And Logseek's whiteboard, Bass didn't like it. He's a Logseek user, and Dario did like it, a Logseek user. But they both said that there were things that they didn't quite like about it. But this Obsidian canvas is just amazing. Like, it is amazing. And they just keep adding to it. There are more commands. There are plugins as well that have been created as well for Canvas specifically. There are 4 that I can think of at the moment. Some of them are coming out in the recap, coming out later today. So as of last week, there are other ones that have like came out yesterday as I was recording the video. I'm like, there are too many plugins. But it's just so flexible.
I think that is the thing that has made Obsidian really what I want to use. It is just the infinite possibility that I don't have to spend all my time trying to build. Whereas when I was working in Notion, Notion has a good amount of flexibility. It does not have as much flexibility as Obsidian for obvious reasons, because it's not been designed that way. And there are huge limitations, and you have to work a certain way. And for people that works for, absolutely go for it. And as a tool of exploring the way that you function and work, I think it's a great tool as a starting point, because I could imagine starting from starting from Obsidian would be like, wow, this is overwhelming.
I think it depends how you start.
That's true. But then again, that's the same with Notion, isn't it?
I don't think so. And the reason is, when you start with Notion, it's very hard to get anywhere without a database.
That's true.
We've said this before. It's hard to do anything, really actually like grasp what Notion can do without a database. You don't need like formulas, roll-ups, and relations and stuff, but you need a database in some way. So I watched Jeff Su, someone that creates videos on YouTube about productivity, business management and stuff, and he uses Notion, and he did a video about his Notion setup. And he's got a combination of template blocks and databases all on a page with linked databases and relations and rollups. And he used Thomas Frank's sort of like template to help him through stuff. And it was looking as as an Obsidian user now, looking into their Notion setup, I was like, that's so convoluted. You've got a database,
Yes.
a link to a database with a relation that you need to have the task show, but then you have a filtered view of that database elsewhere, and you're like, and then he's also got like task blocks that are appearing, then he's ticking them off, then dragging them to an archive page, and then reloading some of them in the template, and then adding. And I'm like, that's so much effort. Come on, just push a button.
I must admit that is in a nutshell where what drew me away from Notion. It was the effort required. It was I want to work in organized chaos. That's just my brain is organized chaos. It is chaos. It is chaos in this brain of mine. And I can try to force myself to behave a different way and try to structure my thinking or push myself into this certain direction. Or I can just work with my brain.
So
he started. I just felt the people on the audio is like, yeah, let's go.
Right, I'm gonna share my screen. For those that are listening, probably may have a benefit because you won't be like, what the absolute is that? So this is
holy fucking shit.
Yeah, this
wow.
This is my brain.
I love it.
This is my brain. So for a little bit of context, I can't give all the information about what I'm doing or what I was doing, but this is 4 hours of research. So I spent 4 hours doing research on a specific topic. It happened to be OneCoin, which is a crypto scam. And what I did is I have a file. You know what? I'll open up the file. And inside the file, I have a question, which is just
cool.
which is a data view query of all the tasks. So as I was going through and I had questions, I was like, I need to do that. So I've got find gambling streamer, because there was something that came to mind where gambling streamers had like a problem. So I just put that task somewhere in the file. I don't know where, but it's somewhere. And it's now at the top for my question. So I know what I need to focus on in the research. And then I got like India arrests. When was that? Was that 2017, 2018? I need to confirm that fact. And then some other videos I want to watch. That's a stream. So I've got all the questions at the top of the file, and then I have all of these different. I used Zotero, so
obviously,
yeah, I clipped it all to Zotero, and then I've exported different points out from some of the Zotero PDFs, and then I've got different points from the videos that I've watched. So they're all in the file. But I wanted to see it. Like I had this thing in my head, like the crazy detective putting the map between the strings. I was like, how do I do this? And I have the stories below. So I was like, let's try and use a canvas. And that's exactly what I did. So, yeah. So I started in the middle, sort of. It was the middle when I started. So I started with a Ponzi scheme, MLM, and a pyramid scheme. And that's what it was. And I was like, okay, let's move to cryptocurrency because that's what I'm talking about. And then let's move down to this person. No, I'm moving down to OneCoin and then the person. And I just had those 4 points. They weren't a different color. They were just 4 gray points with links. And then I started putting in some of those points. So I was going through the pages that I had, and I was like, okay, let's add this point. So let's go. Where does that go? Oh, it's over there. So I was adding in different points and then adding in words as I was going through and creating connections. And this is literally my thought process when I was trying to understand what was going on. Then when it came to this person, I started bringing in a couple of points, and I thought, you know what? This doesn't make sense. Let's just put it all in one. So this is a group of a card that's in the mess of me thinking. So this is this person's sort of like lifespan sort of timeline thing. But it's still connected right in the middle of this map web of just random points. And then I have the colors. So when I step back, I can see exactly what's going on. Now, I did, because this was for someone else, I do have a little card down the bottom for explanations, which is basically a red card is bad, a green card is good. Purple is a positive person. So it's a person involved in this story that has a positive outset, whether that's a journalist, whether that's a victim that's doing something or whether that's someone petitioning against them. Then we have blue as a negative person. So they are either people involved in the scam, people that supported the scam, etc. Then we have orange for questions, so I can immediately find the question, and yellow for highlights. So if I zoom all the way out, I can see, okay, these are the highlighted points, and then this is a highlighted connection, and this is a highlighted connection. Why they're highlighted, I don't know. I have to go look at it. And then I can see, okay, these are the questions that I have. These are good points. These are bad points. These are just grays, random points, and I can immediately see what's going on. And it's just, I can blurt all the stuff I have in my head on this canvas. And then when I was writing out the stories, I can literally just go to the canvas and be like, okay, what's going on? Because I have stories in my head. I know roughly what's going on because obviously I've consumed all this stuff. And I'm going through these stories. I'm like, that's a cool narrative. What's linked to that? And I come back to the canvas and I can see everything that's linked. Yeah, it looks like a mess, but I know what's going on. And what I found really cool is that I had all of this and I was like, I'm getting this kind of like timeline view. So I just made it. I just created an investigation timeline with groups 2014, 2015, 2016, 17, 18, 19. And then
I know the powerful thing about this is the fact that none of these are pages, so it's not going to clog up your
yeah.
Like you can have, I think the thing that Canvas has given for me, and I think judging by how you're using it, the same thing, is the whole affordance of like having these micro notes, what are they stupid called? Like the tiny notes.
Oh, the atomic notes.
Atomic notes. Like because of Canvas, they are the atomic notes. They are the atomic quick capture, like sharp and tasty, yummy little snippets that you're then connecting together. That is so cool. My brain is already going, oh, I wonder what would happen if I did it with this thing. Oh shit, I might go play with that.
What I found was really useful for me is because I'm at the end of this, you can see all of the different blocks, but some of these, like this one, started out as just marketing. That's all it was. And as I was going through, I was like, actually, marketing connects to being community focused. And this scam specifically was for Muslims. And then it was sort of like, okay, family, friends focused. And then this marketing block, suddenly, actually, I can link this to the Forbes front cover lie, which was something that happened. So I had a connection. Those connections, relations, serendipitous moments, blah, blah, blah. They came out of me just mapping it here, rather than me having to put like an arrow in a file or making a link that was a backlink that I had to look at the backlinks panel to see, or using a graph that looks messy and you can't move it around and not as flexible. It's just, I could make those links.
Or having lots of tiny notes. That's something that I found when I first started using Obsidian was a big problem for me, and I'm still not finished going through them all. But no, I can't be. But I mean, I don't need to, which is fine. But like, they get lost in the mess of it all. So I stopped using smaller notes and kind of followed Danny's suite of like making them bigger notes, of like having a longer note which has all the information inside of it. But what I love about this is that like my brain is ultimately going into pieces of content that I'm thinking about, like to do with Maslow's hierarchy of needs and how it's not the pyramid is bullshit, basically, to summarize, and how I could create this for all of my stuff and for products that I'm producing and releasing, and the ideas of connecting all of the ideas and all of the modules and the lessons and all of the pieces together is so much more like my brain would work. I'm reading this and going, cool, yeah, this is interesting. Like I'm getting an overview of what you're thinking about from inside of here. And that, quite frankly, is far more valuable as a consumer than like seeing a finished, polished note. I'm like, oh, he made these connections. Yeah, but I know about this information, so I would connect these notes differently. And being able to see that information is really super cool. Here's a really cool example. Like I'm gonna just go on a slight tangent here. Both my partner and I are both playing a game at the moment, God of War, which is the original 2018 release, not the recent one that's just come out. And both my partner and I play very differently. But I enjoy watching her play because the way that she fights and does things is very different to the way I do, but it gives me ideas for myself. Would I ever work in the same way as her? No, absolutely bloody not. But it gives me ideas. And this here is just like, oh, I can see how I would do all of these things for every single piece of content that I might want to produce in the next 6 months. I can see me creating a canvas on that, and not having, and you do it in a very condensed format because that's the way you work. But for me,
this was 4 hours. I was restricted to 4 hours. This canvas was made in 20 minutes.
Love it. Love it. And that for me is the thing that I find, it's just infinite. The possibilities really are stupidly infinite, which I think and actually really does measure up to the complexity of how our brains actually work versus how they are supposed to work, how we're taught to act, how we're taught to behave, how we are expected in the educational system to operate, when really this is the reality. I understand at least half of this, if not, and with a little bit more time I'd understand more. And even just you go, oh, these things are there. Oh yeah, that's cool. Okay, why is that good and why is that? It allows me to ask more questions because the information is just there.
So, and that's what I wanted to make. So the point I wanted to make about the connections and the words, most of these I don't have words in, but every once in a while there was this thing that I was like, where do I put it? Because I don't know where to put. There was no tangible, this is a thing, because it relates to something that connects something. So FOMO, fear of missing out, is obviously part of a scam, but where do you put it? And it's literally the connection between a scam, i.e. the Ponzi schemes, and cryptocurrency. Fear of missing out because you miss out on whatever Bitcoin is. And that then feeds into the marketing. And I can then see, I personally have done this connection through this yellow arrow, like yellow arrow, FOMO, what? Oh, marketing. Okay, yeah, I can see that. So it's sort of in the middle. And I can see, like, coming in now, because I did this a couple of days ago, coming in now, I can see where my brain was going in all of these different connections. Financial crisis, what's that? Why is financial crisis linked with something that's green? So I immediately have questions, and it allows me to explore even further because I know where my thinking was, and it reminds me where I was and where I'm going. And when I look at this now, I'm like, there are so many questions I have from what's going on. I'm like, why is this one completely empty? Oh, I need to research this person more. Same for this person. This person's got some stuff on it. Okay, what did they do again? Oh yeah, they did that podcast and some other stuff. So I don't need to remember the name of the person that did the podcast because it's in the canvas and it's linked to stuff. And there's the book that they mentioned in something that I don't know where, but it's there. And I can see immediately what's going on. I know what the story is. And you can see here, trust experts. This is a big thing. And when I zoom out, which is why I like how I've actually done this, is I can see those words. So I can see like the highlighted words. So, okay, not backed. What's not backed? The blockchain isn't backed. Oh, okay, fear of missing out, financial crisis, and then trusting experts. And that quite literally could summarize the entire story. Just with those words and connections, I don't need to see the words inside the actual stuff. And studied at Oxford. Okay, so someone studied at Oxford and they used something in the blockchain that wasn't backed and was unstable, but utilized people's fear of missing out as being someone that studied from Oxford as an expert, and it related to the financial crisis like as the backdrop. And then there's obviously an investigation stuff that's gone on, but you then get a feel for what the story's about.
Did you think about that as you were creating that, or was that just very natural? Like it just
I
came
had no idea
process?
what I was doing. I
assume that that's a
no
reflection. That's a reflection that you're only seeing right now as we're talking, or maybe when you first looked at it. Yeah, I was intrigued to see whether you were, because that's something that's kind of not spoken about as much, as whether you're conscious of these things that you're doing, which I suspect you're not, because I never am.
Emergence.
Yes, exactly. Emergence.
Yeah. No, I when I was doing this, I was because I was kind of stressed because 4 hours to do research is not enough. Like this was 4 hours to be introduced to the topic. I knew nothing about the OneCoin scam going into this. So I set myself 2 hours to do some research. I watched some videos. Actually, I can bring up my Zotero. I need to actually bring up Zotero because I haven't loaded it today. But I hadn't seen it at all before. So I needed to do some research into it, but then I needed to put the ideas and research that I found together in some way And then I needed to create some sort of narrative storyline about it. But in order to create a storyline, I need to know the main characters, what's going on, what happened. That's not the one that we're doing. That's something else. That's the one I want. So
you're using folders.
Because I have so many projects going on at once. It was like, yeah.
I was intrigued by that because you. It's interesting seeing the shift just from an outside perspective. Like when you first started, you never had folders. Like you just everything goes in. But now you've reached kind of almost like too many things at once. So you're now foldering them up and kind of giving that separation and just organizing. Fucking hell, 2,231 people who are listening, in the library.
Yeah,
and you're reaching that. And it's interesting because I was having a conversation with the client of like how they were describing how the way that they manage their productivity is shifting because they were originally like it was a very simple business. They had a selection of clients and everything was just fine. But now they have a kid and now they have other responsibilities and their brain isn't supporting them as much as they want them to. And so now they're needing to change things to suit the reality of the situation that they're in. And it's nice to have like emerging systems versus static systems. And as you're developing what you're doing, you then create the framework around it, which is almost, it's the exact opposite of how productivity is taught in the business world and in the world in general. It's like, oh, you must have a finished system that's there. That's how Notion's designed. That's how most of the productivity and tools apps are designed. And then you have the weirdos with Obsidian who just basically go, nah, why would I bother? Like, I'll do it when I need to. It's that just-in-time productivity thing, which I think Tiago talks about, but I don't know whether he fully uses in his own stuff because he has it pre-organized. But I think we have a lot of affordances being a small group or a one-person company. We can build it over time.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, I can't even remember why I came into Zotero now. But essentially, you've derailed my thought. Yeah, but essentially, when I come into, that was it. When I'm in here,
can't win anymore. You complain I don't talk too much, and now I'm talking. You complain about that too.
You're always wrong. That's the way the world works. Come on, John, get it right.
Of course, thank you.
Yeah, so when I'm in, don't shake it too much because then everything closes. When I'm in Obsidian Canvas,
I can't see your Obsidian Canvas, my dear boy.
Can you not? I'm sharing the screen. I'm just moving the thing out of the way. Oh, maybe I have to.
It's in the way. There we go.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's because I was clicking and holding the window. Yeah. So with the canvas, I can see all the different points and the ideas of what's going on. But when I'm inside of Zotero, I can then see the sources, where they came from, and I can see what I've referenced, what I haven't, because of the plugin that I have inside of Zotero. So I can right click and then open Markdown Note. So I can open the note in Obsidian, and that's marked with a note. So you can see my research here. I still have 4, 5, 6, 7 articles to read, 4 papers to read, and then an entire podcast to go through. So you can see I don't have that much research in my actual Obsidian, but I can immediately see from my Zotero what's going on, where I'm at with the research and stuff. So I can see synthesis, critique, arguments for and against. And then when I go back to my Obsidian and I go back to the actual file, which I have in the page, of course, which has the 2Ds.
I'm just having a moment. I just love it when you're able to just press that button, zoom in. I'm just like, they thought about that.
Yeah. It was in like the very first versions as
yes,
well. Like,
yeah, it was always there. And I'm like, yes, you get what we need.
Yep. And now when I come back into like the main page, when I'm doing these stories, which I'm
what's the highlights?
Scroll through an explanation of what the heading is.
Is that just using the equal sign to make the highlight? Is that an actual highlight or is that something special that you've done?
I won't share too much about it. But yeah, so the setup, the reason I had the highlights is because when collaborating with other people, you need to explain what's going on. So I have a format. Actually, you'll be able to see it here. I don't want to share too much of the storylines, but so you've got story 1, and then you've got summary, setup, conflict, structure, resolution, and theme. And it's the same for story 2 and the same for story 3. And the summary is obviously a summary of the story. The setup is why people care, the context, goals, and stakes. So I have that highlighted in blue. So it's kind of like a subtitle to the section. And then I have an explanation down below. And I've got a highlight for the conflict, the structure, resolution, and theme. So anyone else that's coming in and seeing will be able to know what's going on. It's also the same reason why I put the let's close that down. Why I put the color ref inside of the canvas. So if they are confused, they can come to the color ref, which I added a unique color to. You can see it's some odd looking pinky purple thing, mauve, whatever. I don't know. I'm a boy. I don't know colors. You know the what is it? Because I've got a sister. When I say blue, she's like, no, it's cyan or ocean blue or these really extravagant names of blue. I'm like, no, it's just blue or light blue or dark blue. Yeah, girls seem to know all the colors. I don't care. Anyway, this is a unique color, so it sticks out from the canvas. Like, if you were to look at the canvas, you'd be like, why is that different? And you could see it. So combining Zotero as an overview of references, combining the file of the task and to-do list and just like the linear process helps me script out what's going on, actually see like step by step what is going on. And then this canvas is just, hey, here's the whiteboard mess of random stuff and explore.
That right there is so cool, and I'm going to steal it again because
what I'm interested to see though is how the canvas works collaborative, because obviously most of my research is individual, independent. If you were to work with someone and use Obsidian, obviously there is a live page issue thing, like the merges issue, where if you type at the same time, one will hit a conflict and the other one won't. Inside of a canvas, you can be on a screen recording and I can be talking, you can be in the vault in your thing, I could be recording, doing whatever, moving things around, and you could see something in your canvas and go, actually, I'm going to add something here and I'll see it in here, because obviously it's just sync. I think that could be a collaborative whiteboard, which would be interesting to see.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how it would work, but it's interesting to see. And then something I just want to mention is the home button to come back, and I'm like, workspace, love it, love it.
That's a workspace.
Yeah, home workspace. It's a workspace that I added to a commander.
Yes, so and it zooms you straight into your overview.
Yes.
How did you make it do that?
No, it zooms into the middle of the canvas to start with, like the center point.
So if you have it in the center point, it stays in the center point. Nice.
Yeah. Well, when you open up a canvas, it has a default starting place. I would imagine AP is going to be able to configure that, but yeah, actually, for those curious, this is my current setup. As you can see, it's expanded and gone in. This is because of all the plugins. I was like, I need space to see them. Let's actually make that smaller now. I can reduce it. That just shows how many there were.
For people watching, he had kind of similar to my setup with the 1, 2, 3, but number 2 was like just like fell out the page. It's very funny.
Yep. Yeah. So how I actually navigate this is I right click and then go to target, and then I'm on video.
Ooh, that's cool.
Go to source. So when I come in, I'm immediately, so if I open up the home workspace, I'm immediately focused in on this one card. I can right click on the purple and then go to target, and then it takes me to my essays, which is obviously what I'm working on. Which is another, well, sort of spoilers.
What's that on the right? I'm kind of, so is that
on the right? Oh, on the right of this bit.
On the right hand side. Yeah.
This one.
Yes.
This, as you can see, is random notes I've taken for editing from either videos I've watched. I'm like, oh, I like that transition, I'm going to bung it in there. Or, okay, how did they do that? Let's put it in there. Or I'm watching a video and I'm noticing something. So the zoom is obvious, but there is a certain type of zoom I have in mind when I think of zoom from a couple of videos I've watched. I'm like, I want to try and see if I can do that, or how do I do that? And this is here for, I mean, it's in my video essays because I'm playing with actually trying to edit rather than just putting stuff together. And these are just, it's kind of like my brain dump, but it's it's expendable. Like I can just dump it and get rid of it, which is why I haven't made it into a file.
Yeah, I was quite intrigued by how you had different brain dumps. That's what intrigued me.
Yeah, it's more like a specific thing that I'm focusing on with editing. It's the same with when I come over here, I have my content creation file, which is an actual like essay file. If you want to scroll down, loads of stuff. But this helps me understand, like, that's the storyline. So actually, that's probably a better example of the story. So this explains what I was the highlighted points from the last bit. So that's the setup, why people care. Then you've got the conflict, so the obstacle, physical or emotional. Characters, who's involved, protagonist, antagonist, so the obstacle or the doing person. The structure, so the storyline of the actual essay, video, whatever. Resolution, so the climax, the final battle, the point, the goal, the whatever. And then the theme is the whole point of the video, like what's the lesson behind it, basically. And I got this from a Twitter thread, which I've referenced, of course, from this person, Jay Alto. But it's also collected together because some of these points weren't from the Twitter thread. They're also from other points in this one or this one. I don't remember. Somewhere down there. I don't remember. I don't need to remember because it's here. So, but yeah. Actually, while we're here, this is my this is what I mean by using DB folder. I just pushed on the video, and these are the videos that I'm thinking about. And then these are the essays that I'm thinking about, obviously the status matching my dashboard. So when I come to the home,
if you were to create a new video and you have a new video idea, what's your process from start to finish, like of creating a new video?
I push the button.
I need to ask you about that one because I can't make that work.
Okay, yeah, I push the video button and then I name the video, and then it's in here.
Does it pre-populate the template too, or do you have to do that? Okay, cool. I'm gonna have
everything is in here. So, woohoo!
Well, what happened there?
I have no idea, but there's the test. I assume it got confused because I added something to the folder, and it was like, "Hey, let's update the folder." So we wanted to update everything.
Just like,
yeah, that looked like my inbox. But yeah, so there's the test. So it's got the date property, it's got the done, it's got the everything and stuff. Now it's not going to appear on anything really. Actually, if I come into here, yeah, so it's not going to appear in there because it doesn't have a date, and it won't appear because videos show. Yeah, videos are only there really because video is a bad example because videos are mainly just Obsidian focused. But if I was to add a date, actually, why am I doing it that way? I could do it in there. Oh, duh. And then go to home dashboard. It's now in here, but I don't actually want that. So let's change the date to actually, can I get rid of it in here? I don't know. I haven't actually tried. Oh, anyway, I'll fiddle around with that afterwards. But yeah, so it's in there, but most of the time it's essays and stuff in here. But this is how I'm using the dashboard because most of my videos aren't actually like needed. Let's get rid of that. Oh, wrong button. That one. Delete. Yes. And it's done it again because it's updating it. Let's go to the inbox. Right. This is an aside. There we go. These are all of the sources that I have consumed and take notes on that isn't linked to a research project, essay, video, or anything like that.
Not many then.
There are 334. Yep. And that could be because I've deleted the file that it was linked to because it was like pointless. So yeah, but you can see like I come back to this home like all of the time.
Yeah.
It's just bloop, there you are. This is what's going on. And I use the temp file. So this is what I'm working on at the moment, fake news. I've got the outline at the side. I've got the fake news research file there. I've got the actual essay there. And then when I'm making when I make a canvas, I'll make a canvas for this. And again, it's all like clickable.
Yeah, I love Commander. I really do. Like, it's so yummy.
It makes it easy. It makes it simple. It makes it quick and fast, and it's not complicated either. I think it's so underrated.
Can't figure out how to set it up.
Yeah, but the Commander bit's done. It's the quick add bit.
Yeah, the quick add bit is the thing that trips me up.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the most underrated plugins inside of Obsidian Commander. Why more people don't use it, I really don't know. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I can use a hotkey for this and then do XYZ. Yeah, or push a button.
Yeah, but you were very kind of hotkey focused as well.
So when I say hotkey this, I mean like go through a series of hotkeys. So yeah, so with my video, for example, they'll have a hotkey to use the quick add to open up the video stuff for all the buttons, which is great, but you can't. You'd have to remember all of the hotkeys for all of the things that you're doing. So the new task, the new video, the new essay, the new project, the home workspace, the temp workspace,
That
video
was
workspace,
exactly my
audio
problem.
workspace, search workspace, a new Zotero hotkey plugin, and then you've got the inbox workspace, and then you've got the new Windows hotkey that isn't available. So that you can't hotkey, you need to have Commander for. I've just listed 13 things there that I have buttons for. Hotkeys, no.
That was my problem with hotkeys when it came to Obsidian. I started forgetting them, and then I'm just like, well, the hotkey, go into the settings section of the thing. And I'm like, when I'm doing that, I might as well just press the command thing bar and just do it that way. But yeah, Commander has made things so much easier.
No, I still use loads of hotkeys, but they're for things that I use regularly. Like when I'm in a file, I'll delete a line, and I have a hotkey for that, which I know. When I move lines up and down with a block, or when I indent them and outdent them, like, I know the hotkeys for that. I know like the new line and the bold, the underline. So I have loads of hotkeys. I use loads of hotkeys, but it's for editing in a file, not the projecty task management type stuff, because I don't do that enough to remember things. I guess the new task one maybe, but I still want a Commander because I want to go on my phone, push a button, and then just type the thing in.
Yes. Ta-da. Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it is very much like that. I've since put in command, and I kept putting it off and not doing it, and then I just did it. I'm like, how did I do it before? It is so quick and so easy and so fast that I don't have to think about it, and it's also incredibly approachable. Like it presets up the template for you, it pre-does everything for you, and you just press a button, and all of that background work which you have to think about in other tools like Notion and ClickUp and all of the other tools, you don't in Obsidian. It's like the setup is pre-done. You do it once and then it's done. And it's so yummy.
I think there's an element of that inside of all of the other tools. Like once you set up your Notion databases and all the filters and the linked views and relations and rollups and self-referencing filters, blah, blah, blah. Once you set all of that up, there is an element of push button, add new task. And it's
true. Done. However, if you need to change anything, you're starting from scratch basically every time. Whereas almost every time within Obsidian, you need to make a change to it. Oh, I kind of want this new section added in. As an example, for a podcast episode or a YouTube video, if I want to get back into that. I'm not making no promises. Like
you did at the end of last year, the beginning of this year. You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make some more content. And we said, well, I'll hold you to it.
I'll make some more content. I didn't say videos though.
I don't remember that much. I didn't care that much about it, to be honest.
Cheers, thanks. Much love to you too, Dick. Yeah, and
we're English. That's a sense of humor. It's sarcasm.
Yes, it is.
Don't cancel us.
Yeah. Well, cancel him. You can cancel him. He's an asshole. You know.
You're the one swearing. You're the one using offensive language. You're insulting me. I need to now go to like BetterHelp. And again, that was a joke.
Okay, now you're getting close to being cancelled. British humor is
really good service. It's a really good service, so I thought I'd talk about it. Bring it up.
Yeah, cool.
Right, what were we talking about?
I don't know. I forgot.
This is why these conversations are great. We were talking about Notion and how Notion can be useful once you've set it all up.
Yes.
I was going to say but, and you said however first.
However, but however. when you want to change stuff, you have to reset the whole thing. Often you have to end up resetting things a lot and undoing the work you've already done. At least that was my experience as my process evolved. I ended up resetting my whole space and redoing it again. And if you look online, Notion users do that. They're like, build this ultimate space, sell it. And then 10 minutes later, they're no longer using that.
Yep. It's kind of like, oh, look at my dashboard. Look at my dashboard. Look at my dashboard. Oh, there are 3 videos within 2 months. You've changed your system that much in 2 months. Okay. And when you ask them, oh yeah, I'm changing it now. I've changed this here. I've changed this there. And even though my canvas, my home dashboard is changing, it's not changing. That's really difficult. Like, I don't need to set up a new database, add new relations. It's just I've added a file. It's like adding a line to a Notion page. Like,
and
adding a line is easy.
Also a really key thing to say. There is nothing wrong with it changing. Oh, that's the bloody point. And the issue that we're actually having is not the fact that you're trying to change it. It's the fact that it's so hard to do. And it requires a lot of upfront effort to do, I should clarify.
I think it's hard to do for the general user. Because when you look at people that understand Notion, it's easy to do. Like, I could build a dashboard now, even having not used it for 2 years, and it'd be pretty quick, pretty easy, pretty seamless. But the average Notion user, I don't think grasps how to make all the connections, and they have a system in their head, and the connection between the system in their head and the actual output of what Notion is going to look like, there's a level of expertise there that the general user, I don't think, has, which is why people fumble through how they work out, or they use templates.
And we just won't even touch on templates because
but I think Obsidian, even with Obsidian templates, because it's a local file, you can do what you want with it. And you can see everything that's going on behind the scenes. Like in Notion, when you get a template and you see this dashboard, you have to try and do a bit of detective work. Like, where is this database stored? How many times is it linked? Is it linked in a template? Are there templates in this database? What databases are related to what? What are these rollups actually looking for? Yeah, exactly. And you have to do a bit of detective work to try and figure out how the template's working.
And let's be real, no normal human being would want to do that. That's the thing. They just want to use something to get started and get done. They don't want to have to figure out how it works to be able to operate it, which is I think I remember our live stream where I was showing through my Obsidian. Yeah, that's it. We used to do 3-hour live streams on our spaces, and we were done in 25 minutes, and we were just padding out the rest of it. Like, we were just like, yeah, so how do you do this then? This is how I do it. Okay. And it was so simple.
It was boring.
It was very boring, yeah.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. It's a good thing it was boring.
But that's the thing. It was boring. It was like, this is just how I work, and it works. End of. And it's moving away from that kind of productivity porn of like, look at my dashboard. You know, it's just.
Question for you.
Oh, yes.
I've seen a couple of people post things like this now inside of the Obsidian Reddit, and it's annoying for me because I just want to say just research, but I can't say that. So, but the questions,
you can.
Yes,
you can.
Yes.
You can say that. You just choose not to.
Yes, the questions are: where can I find a beginner video or a help video or a starting video for Obsidian that doesn't push a expensive course or a expensive template or push their products? And what I see in this comment in my head is, I can't be bothered to research. I can't be bothered to look for myself. I want someone to tell me the answers to questions I don't know yet, and I don't want to pay any money for it. Am I being too cynical? Like, yeah, thoughts.
Yeah, it is very frustrating. I think it's because of how society has kind of been. Yes, I agree, is the simple answer to your question. It is very much like, give me everything for free. It's like, sorry, but no. Because the amount of effort that it required for us to get started, and the amount of effort it will take to help you navigate that space, because we make it look simple, like, because we've got that knowledge of ourselves to be able to work from that, using my own language. But like, we know how we work, and the thing that makes it work for us is not, I'm just speaking for both of us, you're welcome, is not about Obsidian. It's about the fact we know the way our brain works and what we need to operate and what we need to function and what we need to be productive, to bring forth the best possible version of ourselves. And Obsidian is just the vehicle, the car, the operating thing that we use to help us with that, alongside other apps and tools. And that...
Just a quick point. Morgan recently added the ability to link to an Obsidian file inside an event. So I can now add a note inside of my Obsidian to an event inside of Morgan. So if I have a meeting coming up, I can create a note in Obsidian, link it to the meeting, and then when the meeting happens, click on the link inside of Morgan and it takes me to the note. So just joining apps together. I do also disagree with some of the points you've made, but not as a disagree with what you're saying. I disagree with the terms you're using, because I would use different words, but
yeah,
the general consensus is the same.
Yeah, and that's why I said these are my words, not yours.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify, because some of the words you use, I'm like, yeah.
I'm intrigued now. Go.
Productivity.
Yeah, well, productivity is
subjective.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Productivity is completely subjective. That's why I defined productivity when I said it.
Yeah, but when you say productivity, people have preconceived notions and they go, oh yeah, I know what that is, and then they don't listen to the next couple of words, and then they listen to whatever's next, because people internally go in when they hear words they're familiar with. Part of the research that I'm looking into.
Oh, now I'm intrigued.
Well, I don't even know where I'm at with the video essay. Yeah, I'm in the scripting section of a video essay that's at the moment pencil titled "The Illusion of Productivity," and I'm looking into what productivity is and what it may mean and stuff. And obviously, there's tons of research still to go, but productivity is extremely subjective. And when people say you can be more productive with this thing, yeah, but you can also be unproductive with that thing as well. So, what does it actually mean to be productive to you? And how does productivity impact actions, behaviors, interpretations, preconceived notions on everything, basically every decision that you make? And when people say, this is my productivity app, well, everything's a productivity app if it gets you to do something that you perceive as productive. So, yeah, bit of a philosophical.
Yeah, I mean, I could go there. I would happily go there. I enjoy what I have as productivity, which is about bringing forth the best possible version of yourself. That to me is what productivity means. And yes, it is still incredibly subjective, and it changes and it molds and it moves, because it's not static. Productivity is not static. What is productive one day is not productive another. That is the whole thing.
I disagree. I think productivity is static. I think productivity used most of the time is static, because I am being productive is a static point in time. I would post-it stamp productive as at this point in time I was productive, then a couple of seconds later you might not be productive. So I was productive when I was doing that thing. Productivity as a general concept thing is drastically dynamic, and this is where time gets involved, which gets very complicated very quickly. But the way I see productivity is it's a descriptor of something, but being productive is a moment in time that you can measure, I'd say in inverted commas, in quotes, because you can't measure productivity, but you can measure how productive you were or are depending on the time of frame you're in, which is why I would say productive is static, but the term productivity is dynamic. And as soon as you measure it, very similar to, you may not be familiar with this, but people in time and space, when you measure something, the measurement it's now been grabbed, it's now a thing. There's loads of paradoxes. Like, is the cat alive or dead inside of the box? Well, when you open the box, the cat's dead, but if you don't open the box, it's alive. There's loads of paradoxes like this where as soon as you've actually seen it, it's become a thing, then it's measurable. And I see productivity as one of those concepts. As soon as you measure it, it's a static thing that you can measure. Whether it's an accurate measurement, that's a whole other discussion. But productivity is just this dynamic thing that you don't know what it is until you look at it. But as soon as you look at it, you now measure it. And that's the way I see it. So I see productivity as a static measurement that most people use. And the word that they're using to describe productivity is something that you can't measure, because through time, it's either exists or doesn't exist. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I like that. Like that differentiation between productivity and productive. That's nice. I like that. I look forward to the video.
Arguably, they are the same thing. I've changed the words to make it tangible inside of the vocabulary I'm using to explain it. But yeah, it's very hard to explain what's called a cluster concept verbally without any visual help.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I like that. I might go and look that up next, and I'll be fucked for days. Still haven't finished the book because I have to step myself away, because otherwise I end up going really deep into rabbit holes. I'm just like, nope.
That's actually why I was intrigued, because when I did this 4-hour research on the OneCoin, because I was restricted on what I could research, I came out with a product. Like, I came out with 3 stories at the end of the 4 hours. Now, I don't think 4 hours is enough to do any high quality research, but hair in my mouth. But it certainly gave me a perspective of using time as a constraint to do certain elements. Now, I use time as a constraint all the time, but I've never done it like that. Yeah, but I've never done it like that. Like, set myself, okay, you are going to do this in this amount of time, and I'm not going to tell you how much time you have to do these things. Because normally I would break it up and be like, right, I'm going to do a 3-hour time block on research. You can do a 3-hour time block on writing. I just said, okay, you have 4 hours to do this. And I had to, I just started, and I was like, okay, I look at the clock and I'm like, oh, I should probably start doing this thing now. And because the constraints were emergent as I was doing the project, I was acting on it. I was restricted in areas that I didn't think I wanted to be restricted in, and actually helped. It did hinder in some elements as well. So it's certainly something to work through. But it's something, it's a challenge that I really want to go forward again a little bit more with. So instead of giving myself 4 hours, give myself like 50 hours. So I can actually do some research. But what does 50 hours of research into something look like?
That's interesting.
Spoiler into an idea that I've got for a video.
Yeah, because that is the thing. Like, often I find myself going down rabbit holes, but I want to go further because there is some more stuff that I found, and it's a time suck.
But there's always more things to look at.
That's the point. Yeah, I was about to say that, and that's the thing. There's always more things to look at. So how do you stop?
Yeah.
Or pause, and do you? And how do you know when it is a time to stop and when it isn't? Could it be measured by how motivated you feel? No, because I would never do anything anytime ever, because I always have some form of motivation to research more and dive deeper. That is something that I love learning more about, is going deeper into topics and random tangents which take me everywhere, and I enjoy that. So motivation, I don't know whether that's enough. I am hesitant on the word that I just used there, because I'm like, is it actually motivation? But anyway,
I got research on that.
Yeah, that is one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot, because a lot of the task taming stuff that I've been doing for context, I have a course that I released. I did a live video called Task Taming for Busy Brains, which is basically around my philosophy of managing tasks and projects that is a little bit more kind of dynamic versus what the traditional view is. And I hear so much about, I'm just not motivated, I just need to push myself to get things done. I'm like, yeah, how do you do that? Like, what is that? And just playing in that sphere of like, everybody talk, like, it's the doing part of the process of like, how do you do? Because you're always doing. I think you've said this before, like, you are doing. but people don't think they're doing. And I'm like, why?
So I had an interesting experience when I was doing this 4 hour research thing, because my brain is like constantly going for this thing. Like I can't half-ass it. It's not like I can sit on
Yeah.
Minecraft, listen to a video, and just like place blocks. Like I have to fully engage in what it is that I'm consuming. I was taking breaks, obviously, so I did it in 4 hour blocks, and the last block. The last 4 hours, because I did this in one day, by the way. I had a life to live as well, and it was like a full-on day. And the last block, I wasn't not motivated, right? I was motivated to do it, but there was this thing in me where I was like, it's gonna be like hard and difficult. I have to think, I'm probably gonna be tired after it, and I don't really know where to start. Like that was a thing that's going on in my head. I knew where to start because I had loads of questions. I knew where to go. I knew what to do. I knew what to research. I had everything that I needed to do. So I asked myself, okay, what's my problem right now? What is the problem that I have with getting started? And you may think that there was like some amazing epiphany that I came to. No, no.
Tired.
I just started. And then when I did, I was like, oh yeah, that was a cool question. Let's have a look at that. And then an hour went by. I was like, oh, okay, yep. I'm finished now. So there wasn't a tip, a trick, a hack. I just started with something that looked interesting. I was like, I don't really want to do any of this at the moment. That requires my brain. My brain is dying right now. So I just went with the easiest question that I had on the board, which was like, it was something to do with a date. I was looking for a date of when arrests happened. I think the question's actually still on the canvas, which I alluded to earlier. So was it 2017 or 2018? Like I say, I was in a rush, so I didn't tick the thing off. And I just started with that. I started with the simplest, easiest, most not motivating, but the one
Mundane. It was the one that was
yeah.
the easiest with the energy that you had at the time.
I was like, yeah, let's do that. And then because I'd started, the action was moving. I was like, okay, well, if it was then, what else happened then? And I just followed the train. So it's kind of like getting on the train. Once you're on the train, it goes, but it's getting on the train that's the problem. And for me, it's just finding something that's the easiest to do that you know you should do. And I'm going to say it. The fake news essay that I've got at the top of my canvas is scripting. I haven't been procrastinating, but it's daunting. Like I know I have 74 papers around fake news, and I have over 100 videos still to go through around fake news. And when I think about those numbers, I'm like, damn, that's a lot of stuff. But when I'm in it, like the first block I did for fake news, I was working for 6 hours straight. I forgot to eat. I just worked 6 hours straight. I was going for it. And then I took a break. And now I'm looking, I'm like, oh, that's scary. And I haven't started because I haven't felt like I wanted to start it. And then when I feel like I want to start it, I'm going to like bash it out. And that's what Mr. Beast does. Mr. Beast, with his videos, he will work for a week straight, just going for it. And then he'll be like, yeah, I'm not doing it for 2 days. I'm just not. And then when he feels motivated again, he'll do something completely different. And then he just won't do anything. So he decides his motivation on his energy, I guess you could say.
It's an interesting thing, and it's something that I've been like thinking a lot about as I get these questions that aren't really answerable. Like, how do you do? Well, you're already doing. So what is the problem that you're facing right now? It's the fact that you don't think what you're doing is a thing that you're supposed to do.
Yeah. And then how do you decide to do something that you're not doing that you want to do?
Yeah. And how do you even navigate that? Because it's a lot of self-reflection and all that delicious stuff and considering what you actually want to do, which leads on to so much like nonsense that you have in your own head. I call it nonsense because that's my own bullshit, but like all of the bullshit that goes on in your head of like, oh well, I should be doing this and I should be doing that. And it's interesting because that's one of the big things that I have that I've been working on of like, I should be doing these things. And then it's like
internal voice.
Yeah, the internal voice is just like, you're tired, but you shouldn't be tired. Well, I am tired. And one of the things that I have in my lessons is like, what is the reality of the situation that you're in? What is the reality of the environment or situation or the thing that's happening for you right now? What is real right now? Because that's the only thing you can measure.
I love that question. That's one of my questions for fake news.
What's that?
What's real?
Yeah, because what's real right now? Like, what is real for you? Because
what is real and what is true?
ooh, spicy.
Yeah, it's gonna. The video essay is gonna get real philosophical real quick.
Yeah,
I love this word, so I've got to say it. Epistemology.
Fancy twat.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and that is kind of trying to put that into a course.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not broccoli. That's like frozen broccoli that's not cooked. It's like, yeah, this is real nasty.
That's why you need coach. That's where coaches come in.
Yeah, you need to cook the broccoli.
Yeah, coach needs to get it out the freezer for you. Cook the damn broccoli.
Yes, and then put chocolate with it.
Yeah.
I knew you'd say yes because that's your default. You're like, yeah. Oh wait, no.
I mean, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but no, I would never do that.
Oh, yeah, it's funny. But yeah, so we went on a tangent. Going back to Obsidian though.
Look at that. Where did we go today?
Yeah, moving back to Obsidian, just sort of round up those thoughts. Yes.
Back.
A lot of this that we're talking about for me is in my Obsidian. Like when I'm talking about the fake news articles, it's in my Obsidian. The research is in my Obsidian. The epistemology is in my Obsidian. And when I'm talking about how do I make those decisions, well, I don't really need to because I can look at my canvas and be like, oh, these are all the things what entices me the most first. Whereas inside of Notion, the way I see Notion, because it wasn't as. It's funny I'm going to say this because everyone says that Notion is. I don't think Notion's as visual as Obsidian. And people are like, oh, but Notion's got the gallery view and it's got the list and the table and blah, blah. But I don't see it as visual because I'm restricted on the visual elements. Like I can't move that gallery card outside of the gallery. It has to be that configuration. I can't really move the table stuff in a custom organization, really, because you've either got to use a sort or a filter, or you can drag stuff up and down, but then you're limited with other things that you can do with regards to the property information. And in Canvas, and just in Obsidian in general, using database folder or in calendar or any of the other views that we get, Kanban board, blah, 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 it's more visual. So I can just see it. And then we have pretty colors as well, like greens and reds and oranges and blues and purples and whatever color that it was, the pinky, mauvey thingy. I'll look at the hex code and tell you color.
Yeah,
But I've never seen Obsidian as a visual tool. But now when I'm thinking about it with the canvas, it is a visual tool.
Yeah, especially with Obsidian with the Canvas plugin. Now it is a visual tool. And I'm just like looking at what you've done and I'm just like, wow. So many things I'm going to be like, oh, the things that have been stopping me from moving forward, I'm like, oh, because one of the things that I found hard, and that was a bugbear, I suppose. It wasn't really a bugbear. I'm just trying to find problems right now. Was like the long pages. Huh?
Good scientist.
Yeah. Was the long pages and having to navigate through the long pages and all of the little sections and deciding where to put things. Of like, there was still a decision to be made because I wanted to have some form of organization. Like I benefited from that organization rather than the brain dump. But now my whole project can just be a brain dump first inside of Canvas. And that really is how my brain fits together. Like that visualization is really going to be helpful for my way of working of like, I'll see that in that way. And then I don't have to think whether to capture something inside of a specific note I'm being like, I don't have to think whether it's worth capturing. I can just capture it. Because I'm quite like what's the word? Protective over my notes. I don't want to just put everything in there. I want them to be out for me to be able to come back in and see the value from it, from looking at it. Like, but also there are things that I know would be valuable to have in there, but they're not valuable enough. And like there are some odd use like gray zones that I'm like, but I don't know whether it's valuable because of unknown unknowns. And so either I put everything in there or I don't. And there was no real, like, there was a binary that I had that I was trying to navigate against. And I think the Canvas plugin for projects that I want to work on that are more, I suppose, research based, sort of, are I will be following that suite of like, because you can just put everything on there and then the final note, like what you had on yours of like the story that you were creating, is very much more structured once you've got that blur of everything that you wanted to put in there.
I think the way I see it, I'm thinking timelines is at the start, it's everything is sporadic at the start because you don't know what's going on. You don't really know what's happening. So my start is deliberately messy. I have sources in Zotero. I have the files that have come in from Zotero just in my Obsidian all over the place. I have a sort of table of contents sort of thing that sort of links the files, but I don't really know what's going on. It's just I'm collecting random stuff all over the place. I have no idea what's happening. And then in order to bring those ideas together, I then need to go through that just random points and make some sort of connections, which is where the canvas helps that interaction, which I don't think many other tools do as well. I did it in a file format, but I had that file open twice, and then I'd go like up and down using the outline plugin, which worked fine. But now I don't need to go up and down the file to get to the right sections because it's just a canvas or a mind map or whatever. And then when I do have an idea of what's going on, I can then make it linear because things aren't linear in time. It's all a mess. We make it linear to help explain things, and we can't go backwards and forwards in time, unfortunately, because time machines don't exist yet. Well, they might.
Or do they?
Yeah, I was going to say they might exist, but we don't know they exist because, timelines, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, what I do want to say very quickly, though, Excalibur and Canvas, a lot of people are making the comparison, and I think they are different. I personally don't like Excalibur. I understand its use, but I don't like it. It feels clunky. It works, don't get me wrong. It's nice. It writes, blah, blah, blah. Bigger files, obviously it slows down, but that's the same with Canvas when you have like 200 things in a canvas. Yes, it does start to slow down when you start to like jump in and jump out. It's like, hold on, give me a second. I got to load all this stuff and then unload it all. But Excalibur doesn't feel as mind mappy to me. It feels too crafty. Does that make sense?
Yes, I agree. I found it annoying. I played with this Excalibur and I was just like, no, I don't like this. I'll just go back to Whimsical.
Yeah.
Like if I want that, I'll go to Whimsical. But also another thing that's coming up for me now is like, oh, I don't need. And I think we actually had. I don't know whether we had this discussion on the podcast or after the podcast of like using Canvas as like a board for clients, because that's something that I do is I help map out the frame, like how people will go through the process in a more linear way because people understand linearity a little bit more than the joys of how it actually works. And so being able, and I'm just like, oh, that there's so much that's actually possible now with Canvas. And so eventually my eventual hope and aim is that we can export. Can we already do that? Export Canvas as images?
Yeah. That was 2 updates ago.
Okay, cool.
You could do it with graph as well. You're looking at Obsidian, yeah. You can export it as an image. I mean, even if you can't export an image, you could take a screenshot anyway if it's small enough.
It's not small. It's never small.
Okay, fair. Yeah, you can export it as an image, but I mean, what I personally would do is just send them the canvas, because if they use Obsidian, all they got to do is open up the vault.
Normally, my clients at the moment don't.
Okay. Because that way they'll be able to like tactically see what's happened and what's gone on.
Yeah, I wished. At the moment, clients haven't really been using Obsidian because it's seen as a Roam thing.
Yeah.
And Roam is and that is the exact like misconception I had before I dived into Obsidian myself. Was like it's basically Roam.
Yeah, but it's not. And
It's
the
really not.
problem I have with people is most people that use Obsidian use it like people that use Roam.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not the same. It's drastically different. I mean, even in the stream that I had with Dario and Bass, I am biased, so it's obviously going to be a biased point of view. But every time they mention something that Logseek can do, I'm like, yeah, Obsidian does that. And then they were like, oh yeah, Logseek struggles with this, Obsidian does that. Yeah, I'd like Logseek to have this in the future. Yeah, Obsidian does that already. Like everything that they said came up with or had struggles with, I'm like, yeah, Obsidian does that. The only argument that you'd have for a tool like Roam or Logseek is the block referencing stuff, which Obsidian does. It doesn't do as fluently. I don't know what that means, according to the outliner people. Again, I don't really know what that means. And I had, huh?
I'm just saying to the audience, tell us what does that mean?
Yeah, I really don't see the differences. But those people that have those tools, I would say, yeah, but most people aren't going to use it. Like most people use Google Docs or Microsoft Word or Scrivener. Like they don't need block referencing. They just need a file that they can write on. You can't do that in the outliner tools because there's bullet points everywhere.
I hated bullet points everywhere.
I very rarely use bullet points. I use lines and I use blocks, but I don't use bullet points. Yeah, it just
bugs me. It bugs me.
It's annoying.
It bugs me. I get very annoyed because it's like, why? Why I want to write. Thank you. Goodbye.
Agreed.
Our use case.
Yeah. So this was an Obsidian update of how John uses it. I didn't really go through mine because, well, I went through a little bit of mine. So more of like an Obsidian Canvas update, really.
I guess.
How are we using Canvas?
You're titling it. I just copy your titles now.
I've noticed.
Why not?
Yeah. Let Danny do all the work. I'll just turn up and talk.
I upload it to Anchor.
Oh, you do that? I thought you had your assistant to do that.
No, I do that.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's not always done on time.
So if the podcast isn't out, blame John.
The podcast isn't out on the podcast platform, blame me.
Yeah, I would class what I do the video. If the video isn't out, blame me. But I schedule the video, so
yeah. Well, you have the content right in front of it. I gotta wait for you. I'm on your time.
Well, Zoom's time because I can't send anything until Zoom's rendered the video.
I know. Zoom takes ages to render these bloody things.
That's why we do it before lunch, because as soon as we end this, as soon as I end the recording and end the call, I'll go down, have lunch, I'll come back from lunch, and fingers crossed it will have done by then.
That's if you don't have football, and then we're just like, damn it.
Yeah, then it's like, okay, you'll get it at like dinner time.
Yeah.
Awesome. Right. Thank you for everyone for listening. If you do have any questions about the canvas or anything, go to YouTube because you're able to see what's going on. Those that are listening, those that are watching, if you still have questions, tough.
Ask in the comments, you horrible asshole. He'll reply.
I love that. Ask in the comments because he'll reply.
Look, I am using your process in Obsidian slightly tweaked. If you want to know how I'm doing things, fine, sure, I will tell you, but it won't be very interesting.
You need to be your own person, John. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.